Hello MBA aspirants, a very good evening to all of you. This is Sheetal and you are watching Hitbullseye. And we are yet again here with another topic related to your MBA entrances. A topic which is a little bit tricky, poses some difficulty, demands your critical reasoning, your in-depth understanding of a given passage. It is critical reasoning. So not just CAT exam, but this portion comes in other entrances also, which provide you a gateway to MBA colleges. In CAT exam, there are indirect questions from critical reasoning, as in you may get questions based on critical reasoning from your RCs. But there are other exams of MBA entrances which have direct questions of critical reasoning. So again, you must be thinking, okay, we've heard about analytical reasoning, logical reasoning. What is critical reasoning here, right? So critical reasoning is reasoning based on words and statements in which the author or the writer demands your reading in between the lines, you co-constructing the meaning of the passage or the given statement and answering certain question. So there are some 4 to 5 types of questions based on critical reasoning, and in today's live we are going to cover all those questions. So sit tight and watch this video carefully. So let's start with today's lecture. First of all, overview of the session. We need to know what are the topics we are going to cover in today's live. Argument and its components. So what is an argument? I'll be telling you each and every term, don't worry. We will talk about argument and its components, and the components are facts, assumptions and conclusions. Then we will move on to fallacies, which are fallacious statements or faulty reasoning. Then we will see 2 other types of questions, which are strengthening and weakening the conclusion. So what is critical reasoning? Critical reasoning requires the ability to actively and skillfully conceptualize, as in you are understanding the concept, the building of that passage. You are understanding how this passage is a cohesive one. Analyzing, breaking it into the pieces to understand it even better. Questioning it and evaluating the ideas and belief. So you can't just be a passive reader, you have to be an active reader, co-constructing the meaning. The understanding should go all along while you are reading the statement. Now, moving back to the terms that I just mentioned in the last slide, let's see and clarify those terms even further. So anything written or said by a speaker or an author is known as statement. And if I particularly talk about argument, statements can also be called as argument. So if with the statement there is also a reasoning, a valid reasoning, this becomes an argument. And with a proper reasoning, anyone, if he's issued some statement, he's given some argument, presented some argument, it must carry some reason, some valid reason, and this will together lead to a proper conclusion. And what are these arguments or statements made up of? There are 2 building blocks of every statement or argument in critical reasoning. They are the stated facts, which are directly given to us in the statement, and unstated facts. An argument or a statement with a reasoning are made up of stated facts and unstated facts. Just by the name you can make out stated facts are which are directly given to you in a statement. Facts are nothing simple assertions. Anything that is said by someone that comes out of your mouth, you've used certain words to make a logical sentence to state something. It is known as a fact. So not all facts are truth, but yes, all truths, or let's say every true sentence is a fact. So anything and everything that one says is counted as fact. So there are certain facts, and those facts are put in a logical order to make an argument with the proper reasoning, which leads us to conclusion. And then there are unstated facts which are not directly given to us in the question, in the statement. You have to understand what the speaker or what the author must have assumed or must have taken for granted before issuing this statement. So assumption is something which is with accordance to the author, but you have to guess what can it be. All right, so if I say India is a developing country, there is problem of unemployment in India, and this problem is going to sustain even in future. What can be the assumption behind saying this? The assumption would be that I've assumed India is developing today, it will be developing in future also, right? After assuming this, I have said that problem of unemployment is going to sustain even in the future or in the upcoming years. So this is how you find out assumptions or unstated facts. All right, so we are done with unstated facts. Unstated facts are also known as assumptions. Now, with the clarification of the basic terms, let's see one last term. We've done conclusion. Conclusion is the logically what the statement conclude. It will be directly hinted by the statements. You will get a direct hint. You might even get the conclusion in the statements itself. But there is one more thing, which is hidden conclusion. Hidden conclusion again demands your deducing power, you deducing the meaning of the passage. Some conclusion that is not directly given to you. So that you have to deduce, you have to derive. But yes, of course, the inference should be with regard the context of the statements. So another term is inference. Inference is hidden conclusion. So don't get confused about it. Basically, both are conclusions. It's just that inference is not directly given to you. Yes, so with this clarification, let's move on. So these are the terms or the components of critical reasoning which we've already discussed at length. Facts, any given statement is made up of facts, simple statements, simple assertions made by a speaker or a writer. Assumptions, the unstated facts behind every statement. Everything that is issued by a speaker, there are certain assumptions which the author must have taken for granted before saying something. Then there is conclusion. Conclusion is where we reach after reading all the statements with a logical flow of thought, we reach to conclusion. And then there is inference, which is hidden conclusion. So yes, I believe the components of critical reasoning are now clear. So let's see a question type of critical reasoning. So the question says, insurance company X is considering issuing a new policy to cover services required by elderly people. So look closely for the keywords. So there is an insurance company X. It is providing service for the elderly people who suffer from diseases that afflict the elderly. Yes. So premiums for the policy must be low enough to attract customer. Now they are looking for the suitable customers. Therefore, company X is concerned that the income from the policies would not be sufficient to pay for the claims that would be made. Now this particular company, it is providing the premiums, or it want to provide the premium or policy for the elderly people, let's say above 50. It can be anything. They must have some criteria. But at this point of time, they do not have enough revenue to fulfill their needs or to fulfill that policy that they are promising. The question is, now this is a passage or statement, certain facts are given here, certain assumptions must have been made, right? Let's see what the question is asking us. Which of the following strategy would most likely minimize company X's losses on the policy? Now, after understanding this this small paragraph, after understanding these statements, we have to select that one option which will minimize company X's losses. The company wants to give premium, it wants to use the policy it is promising, it wants people to claim it. Now, what set of people should it select so that the company incur minimum losses? Yes, they are a little tricky. You need to apply a little bit of your critical thinking in these questions. Let's have a look at the options. Attracting middle-aged customers. Attracting middle-aged customers unlikely to submit claims for benefits for many years. Can this be answer? Let's read other options also and then we'll guess. So this sounds good, okay? Ensuring only those individuals who did not suffer any serious diseases as children. How can we or anyone be sure that those who did not suffer any disease as children will not suffer any disease as elder in their later age also? So there is no substance to this. So we can negate this one. Including a great number of services in the policy then are included in other policies. The problem at hand is the company doesn't want to face losses, and here this particular option is talking about including even more policies. This is even furthermore gonna overburden the company. So yes, this can also be negated. Ensuring only those individuals who were rejected by other companies for similar policies. Now think about it yourself. If that set of people, it was already rejected by other companies, why would this company X agree to give policies to this set of people? This is again negated. Ensuring only those individuals who are wealthy enough to pay for the medical services. What is the problem here? The problem is the company is not asking to anyone to pay for the policies. The company in fact is giving this service for free for the elderly people. So if you do not read the statement carefully, do not understand and comprehend the statement carefully, these options might seem attractive to you. Again negated. So our answer is option A. Option A says attracting middle-aged customer. So today this company should select middle-aged people because they will be working, and let's say if people are around 35 to 45 and the company is going to provide them the policy only once they are 50 or 50 plus. So the company will get certain period of time to accumulate enough revenue and then to put it in the policies to provide the policy it has promised to people. So this answer is perfectly logical and legible. Option A. So this is how you have to answer these questions. Now I am expecting you will be answering the other questions now that you know how questions come in critical reasoning. Let's see another question, identifying the premise or the fact. So we talked about some terms or components of critical reasoning. Let's have a look at all of them one by one. The first or the major thing is premise or fact. So any premise with a proper logic, proper reason leads us to a conclusion. Fact, any statement, anything asserted by someone is a fact. Neurons, we have to find out fact in this set of statements. Let's see if you can find it out. So if you are watching it later on, you can pause the video and try to find out the facts on your own. Neurons have unique property. They are cells that in adult do not divide. This makes them immune from cancer. If this mechanism is found and transferred to other cells, the complete prevention of cancer will be possible. So the speaker has issued a set of statements, assuming certain things, taking some facts, stating some facts. So we have to find out those facts. So the facts here are, neurons have a unique property. They are cells. First of all, neurons are cells. That's a fact. We all know, right? That in adults do not divide. Now this is another fact, that neurons, which are cells, they do not divide. This makes them immune from cancer. Another fact, that neurons are immune from cancer. So these which are generally believed to be true, which are taken for granted by everyone, are known as facts. But yes, facts are not always truth. What should be a fact for us, and even if we are considering it to be true? Only that which is given to us by the author. So when you are dealing with critical reasoning question, you have to put your emotions, intuitions, your feelings, your character traits, your personality, everything outside the room, and the truth or anything that you can believe should be the statements given to you by the author. You have to judge it just by the given context, right? So if this mechanism is found and transferred to other cells, the complete prevention of cancer will be possible. Now this is a hypothesis, or let's say this is something the author is stating, something that he might check later on. So this is an argument, the later line, and the facts are that neurons are cell and they do not divide, and that they are immune to cancer. These are facts. So this is how you find out facts. Let's see how to find out assumption. So before trying to find out assumption is this, in this particular set of statements, I am reminding you again, assumptions are those things which are assumed, which are taken granted by a speaker before issuing some statement. So they are not given to you directly in the statement. Yes, with this, let's see. On the whole, engineering students are lazier now than they used to be. I know because fewer and fewer of my students regularly do the work they are assigned. Yes, so we can say a professor who's teaching engineering student is issuing this statement. He is stating something. So what can we make out? What would have been the assumptions of that professor, that teacher, that lecturer who's issuing this statement? What can be the assumption? If you look at it closely, read it again, you'll come to know. The first assumption that we can find out is maximum of his students are engineering students. It's given here. On the whole, engineering students are lazier. I know because fewer and fewer of my students regularly, my students. So he's talking about particularly his own students, and then talking about engineering students. So maximum of his students are engineering students can be an assumption. And then what can be other assumptions? So there can be more than one assumption. Assumptions depends upon how the reader is finding those assumptions, how the reader is reading in between the lines. Yes. So I know because fewer and fewer of my students regularly do the work they are assigned. Second assumption is this particular speaker, this particular professor, he judges a student to be lazy or to be studious on the basis of homework they do. This is another assumption. So to decide if a student is lazy or studious, homework is the criteria to decide it. Is this much clear, guys? Okay, so with this, let's move on. Conclusion. So we've covered two topics: fact, finding out the fact, finding out the assumption. Let's see how to identify the conclusion. The real and original source of inspiration for the Muslim thinkers was the Quran and the sayings of the Holy Prophet. Now, first of all, as soon as you read the first or the initial one or two lines, you should get to know what is the subject area, the main idea of that passage, the set of statements. So they are talking about Quran and Muslim thinkers, and they are saying that original source of inspiration for Muslim thinkers was Quran. It is therefore clear that the Muslim philosophy was not a carbon copy of Greek thought. This is something he is hypothesizing, or he is proposing this, that Muslim philosophy is not a copy of Greek philosophy, Greek thought, as it concerned itself primarily and specifically with those problems which originated from and had relevance to Muslims only. So he is also giving a reason for it. So this is why we call it an argument. He is stating something and then giving a reason also for it. So this is a complete argument with a statement and a reason. The reason being, Quran states only those problems which are related to Muslims only. So this is why it is not a copy of Greek. So as I've already told you, you can find out the conclusion in the statements itself. So read it again and try to find out what the conclusion can be. After reading all this, what can you conclude? The end result, the result or the final statement, let's say. So another hint for you, you need to see the trigger words, the keywords. You can see it is therefore, as if we are now concluding something. Whenever we are concluding something, we use words like therefore, clear that the Muslim philosophy was not a carbon copy of Greek thought. So after saying all this, after putting forward a hypothesis, an idea, after giving reasons for it, what is the speaker trying to prove? What is he trying to conclude? He's trying to conclude that the Muslim philosophy is not a carbon copy of Greek thought. See, it is as easy as that. So this is how you find conclusions. Let's finally move on to our last term, which is inference. So in an experiment, 200 mice were given equal doses of radiation. So some scientist is conducting some experiment. He exposes 200 mice to certain radiation. Half the mice, that is, let's say around 100 mice, were then allowed to eat their usual foods as they used to eat it earlier without restraint, while the other half was given adequate but limited amounts of the same foods. So 55 developed leukemia, which is blood cancer, in the first group, and in the second group only 3. So what can you infer from it? Inference is a hidden conclusion. That is also a conclusion, but not directly given to us in the statement. What can we conclude? What is the verdict here after reading all these statements? Yes, anyone? Come on, let's try to make guesses. Anyone? All right, I understand initially it seems difficult. So this is an understanding which you will eventually develop. The way of thinking, the way of dealing with the critical reasoning question is something that comes with practice. Yes, so there is a set of 200 mice. Half of it, let's say 100, all of them are passed through radiations. So half of this set was given regular food, and the second one limited food, the second set. So out of these 100, 55 developed blood cancer, leukemia, and out of this set, just 3 developed leukemia. So what can you make out? That after being passed through radiation, if limited amount of food or adequate amount of food is given to the creature they were experimenting on, it is less likely that they will develop leukemia, or it can prevent leukemia. So that is the inference we can find out. That is the hidden conclusion which the passage is hinting towards but not directly given in the passage. Interesting, right? So I hope inference is also clear to you. With this, let's see some questions. A question based on conclusion. So what we've just learned will be reinforced further on once you practice enough questions. So this is a statement, and this is the form of questions you might get in exam. You will be given a statement, and on the basis of it you will be given 2 conclusions, and then you will have 5 options. The examiner will ask you, the instruction will read that mark 1, mark A if only 1 is the conclusion, right conclusion, mark B if second is the only right conclusion, mark C if either just one of them is the conclusion, mark 4 or D if both the conclusion follow, and mark 5 if neither the conclusion follow. So don't worry about it, you will get clear instruction in your question itself. But this is how a question of critical reasoning and conclusion looks like. Parents are prepared to pay any price for an elite education to their children. So a speaker has given the statement that parents are ready to pay any amount for elite education of their children. So what can you conclude after this? That why are the parents ready to pay such a high amount? Is it because all parents these days are very well off? Is that legible? Just because people are well off, would they be more inclined to send their children to elite education? So that doesn't have substance enough. So not the correct reasoning. The second one, parents have an obsessive passion for perfect development of their children through good schooling. Can this be the right answer? Yes, anyone. Which conclusion follows, first or second? Write it in the chat box. Even if you are seeing this video later on, you can pause it and try to guess the answer on your own to check how much you've understood of conclusion. So in this particular case, second conclusion follows. Parents have an obsessive passion to send their children to elite education. Money can't just be the factor. Maybe there are people who are not that well off, but because they are obsessive about it, because this matters a lot for them that their children should go for elite education, they are going to cut short their expenditure in other things. So second is the right conclusion. The second option. All right, with this, let's see one more question. Okay, before moving on to the other question, let's see some tips to solve conclusion question. So always read very carefully and try to find out keywords. The keyword in the previous slide was the word therefore. So that was a keyword. So you can find out the keywords. They play an important role in analyzing valid and invalid conclusion. So in the previous slide, second was the valid conclusion, first was the invalid conclusion. If the conclusion is provided with a stated example, then the conclusion will always be invalid. So keywords are such as all, no, few, most, must, had to, will be, always, never. So these are all strong words. You can follow these words. They are going to hint you if the conclusion follows or not. So whenever there are strong words like should be in the conclusion and there is no strong word in the statement, the given conclusion will be invalid. So for you, the truth must be only what is given in the statement. All right. With this, let's move on. Now, a fifth category that we've discussed in the first slide is strengthening or weakening a conclusion. So you already know what a conclusion is. And how do we reach to a conclusion? There is a series of logical statements. They have a proper reasoning, and those logical statements or the proper order of the logical statement leads us to certain conclusion, something that we can conclude out of it, right? So when I say strengthening the conclusion, any given option must be supporting the assumption, the stated facts, the unstated facts. Only then it will lead us to the right conclusion. If the given option are going against the assumption or the stated facts, it will be contrary or against the conclusion, which means it will weaken the conclusion. So that is how you have to select your option. So the examiner might ask you, which of the following strengthens the conclusion? Which of the following weakens the conclusion? And then there can be other forms of asking the same question, but you will have to comprehend the question first before moving on to the selecting the answer. So fact or facts, which I've already told you. Facts, it can be one fact or a number of facts, that is a number of statements, with unstated assumption leading to one definite conclusion. Right? Facts plus unstated facts or assumption lead us to one definite conclusion. Trick is, if the option goes with the assumption, this assumption, if the option is supporting this assumption, what the assumption is saying, similar kind of thing is given in the option made by the author, then this option will strengthen. Going with the assumption means strengthening the conclusion. Going against the assumption means weakening the conclusion. That's it. It is as easy as that. You just have to see if the given options are supporting the assumption or going against it, and then it will eventually be easy for you to answer the question. Let's see an example of strengthening the conclusion. 3 airlines, can be any airlines, XYZ, the names are given here. 3 airlines, IA, JA and SA, operate on the Delhi-Mumbai route. To increase the number of seats sold, SA, this particular airline, so all these 3 airlines, they move between Delhi to Mumbai. Out of these 3, this SA reduced the fares, and this was emulated, that is copied by IA and JA. So SA did something, it reduced the fare. These 2 airlines copied it immediately. The general belief was that the volume of the air travel between Delhi and Mumbai would increase as a result. Again a hypothesis by the author, that it is believed by all these airlines following the footsteps of SA that if we decrease the fare of the tickets, general number of people or the passengers between Delhi to Mumbai will increase. So this is a general belief given to us in the statement. Now we will be asked a question. The question is, which of the following, if true, would add credence to the general belief? Now, before looking at the option, you need to understand what the examiner is asking you. So this is where we face problem of not having adequate words to our vocabulary. So if you do not know what add credence is, how would you be able to answer the question? So first of all, let's understand the question itself. Which of the following, if true, would add credence, as in would strengthen or would make us believe the given general belief, support the general belief? The general belief was that if the fare decreases, if the airline decreases the fare, the number of passengers between Delhi to Mumbai will increase. We have to find out one option which will strengthen it, which will support it. Yes. So increase in profitability of the 3 airline. Now this is a result or a conclusion. So this can be negated. First of all, understand what the examiner is asking you. Extension of the discount scheme to other routes. What does this mean? So it's an obscure, abstract statement, I would say, not giving the answer of what the examiner is asking. A study that shows that air travels in India are price conscious. Now this is something which is legible, logical and related to what the question is asking you. A study that shows, so because a study showed that if that the number of travelers will increase, as in they are price conscious. So if the study is stating that travelers are price conscious, the company is coming up with this discount on the tickets. So yes, this is the statement which will add credence, which will further support what was given, what was concluded, or what was hypothesized in the statement. A study that shows that as much as 80%. So whenever there is no data given in the statement, you straight away eliminate the option which is giving you some data, because there is no substance added to it, because there is no proof given in the statement for this data. How can we select an option which is giving you some particular figures, some data, some images, some amount, anything? So yes, this one again can be eliminated. So that is how you answer questions of critical reasoning. So I've tried to touch upon almost all the topics. We did components of critical reasoning. Those are premise or fact, assumption, which are unstated facts, conclusion, towards which we reach after the properly ordered logical sentences or statement, the cohesive ones, they lead us to a conclusion. And then there is inference, which is hidden conclusion. So these are 4 basic concepts, 4 basic components of critical reasoning. Then we saw How can you strengthen or weaken a conclusion? So I believe you must have got some idea about what critical reasoning is and what it demands. So with this, I would like to end today's live, and we will come up with more such questions to practice, and so that your learning further gets reinforced. And let's see if you will be able to answer in the next live. So do see this video again if there is any doubt, and if you want to ask something, feel free to put it in the comment box or chat box. If you want to see any such topics, any video related to these topics, feel free to write it in the comment box so that we can come up with that topic in the next live. Until then, goodbye and have a happy learning time.